exponents, okay? And exponents are, there's a difference here. So if we were to look at like number 1 over here on this very last one, it says 7x to the 0. The 7 is called the coefficient. Okay, all that means is the big number attached to the letter. Okay, the little number, like for example, this little a, or this b, or this negative a, this 0, those are called the exponents, or the powers, okay? And we already know, like 2 squared, right, is 4. We know that. And so that's what that means. So we're working with exponents or powers. That's the whole focus of, I think, the majority of this chapter is the power. Today we're simply going over the negative exponent rule and the 0 exponent rule. Those are the 2 that we're going to be talking about today and that we're going to be using today. Okay, and so when we have negative exponents, so it's not allowed. Okay, so by that I mean we never write 4 plus negative 6, right? We don't write like that. It's just a no-no. Okay, not only does it look stupid, or like if you're writing an English paper, you don't write in all caps, right? Or you don't write like A, B, C, D. You don't write like that. Your teacher would be like, what are you doing? Okay, there are proper ways to go about things in life. You don't go to the shoe store and pay for $200 for shoes in change. They'd be like, what in the world? Okay, some people probably do, but like, I think I would be like, nah, bro, get that out of here. I'm not counting on it. Okay, and so we don't use negative exponents. They're not allowed. And so if something has a negative exponent, you need to do an operation to it to get it to be a positive exponent. And that means to move it. Okay, and so any number we can write, you could write like 3 over 1 is just 3. Okay, and so on all of these, you're going to draw a fraction bar. Okay, and since this, you could write this over 1. If it's in the top, it needs to be moved to the bottom. So it's really x to the a, 1 over x to the a. Okay, and that really looks like a 9, but it's an a. I just can't freaking write. Okay, but we do not move the coefficient or the big number. So if we were to look at these little problems off to the side, we can draw our bar. The negative 5 doesn't get moved to the bottom. Okay, so it's going to stay where it's at. The x to the negative 2, we look at it and say, well, is there any negative exponents? There is. The exponent is this 2. Okay, that's the exponent, it's the little number. So it's going to get moved to the bottom. Okay, so we don't use negative exponents. The x to the 0 power, and this one's probably the easiest one. Before I forget, there's one other thing. What number is in front of this? There's a 1. Okay? The power, or the little number attached to this, is also a 1. Okay? And that's something that you need to know. So if you have just an x, it's really x to the 1 power. Okay? And that's something you'll memorize eventually. So x to the 0 is always going to be 1. Okay, so if you were to look at 7x to the 0, just this x to the 0 part is 1. So it's really 7 times 1, which is just 7. Okay, so those are the 2 rules we're going to be doing today. Today we are just simplifying. Simplifying does not mean solve. Okay, and so I know some of you guys are going to look at the sheet and be like, oh, yeah, I got this. Simplifying does not mean solve. Okay, that means get rid of the negatives, essentially, in this. Okay, so anything to the 0 power is what? We just learned the rule. It's 1. So this one is just going to be 1. Okay, look. What, I print the wrong one?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure did. Finish line. Is this one? All right. Well, at least you know one for tomorrow, I guess. Okay, so 2 to the negative 1. Does it have negative exponents? What is the exponent? Let's look at that. Huh?
Negative.
It's negative 1. Okay, so the little number is always the exponent or the power. Okay, does it have negatives? Okay, so if it does have negatives, you're always going to draw the fraction bar. If it has negatives, that means it needs moved. Okay, and so I'm going to say equals. Okay, you can really put a fraction bar there. Okay, so it needs moved. Right now it's on the top, so then we move it to the bottom, and it gets rid of the negative. So now that's why we only write 2 to the 1 now instead of negative 1. Okay, and we don't leave anything without a top to it. Okay, and so you're going to put a 1 on top. Okay, it's going to seem confusing at first, and then after you get it, you'll be good. Okay, 4 to the 2 power. Does it have any negatives? No, so we leave it the way it is. What is 4 squared?
Is it 8?
Close.
16.
16. Okay, but we don't write 16 because 16 would be solving, and we're just simplifying. So you're just going to leave it as 4 squared. Okay, look at 5. Does it have any negative exponents? No, so we leave it the same. 7. No negative exponents. We leave it the same.
Yes, 9.
Okay, so this one does have a negative exponent. Okay, and the first thing I would probably do is write a 1 under it, okay, because that's going to help you out. So, where is that 3 to the negative 4 going to go?
The bottom.
The bottom of the other one. Okay, so, and it's just going to be 3 to the 4. What's going to go on top?
A 1.
A 1. Okay, and so now we're going to start getting into a little bit more complex ones, okay? And so what you need to do on any of these, if you see a negative anywhere, draw yourself a fraction bar. Okay, and then go through piece by piece and look at it. The number, and this is where it's kind of hard to explain. The number, the big number, the coefficient, that's always going to stay wherever it's at. So if it's on top, it's going to stay on top. If it's on the bottom, it's going to stay on the bottom. So the 2 is going to stay where it's at. The k squared, k to the negative 2, needs moved. Where does it go?
The bottom.
The bottom. So this is what it should look like. Okay, so what should 13 look like?
Same thing.
Yeah, so it's going to be 2 over b to the 3. My bad, y'all.